In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Thank you for joining us on another show. Again, I'm gathered by my brothers here who are, on different shows also and are currently with us for the first time. We have some new guests as well. We're going to be talking about, God willing, something that's really close to home. Really close to home to the point where we may not even do it, or we might do a lot of it. Something that we are really familiar with, something we may not have experienced before in our lives. We're talking about prayer, we're talking about reading the Bible. Something that we've heard, we've been brought up in the Coptic Church pretty much all of our life. We're going to discuss today, God willing, what are some of the different distractions that come into our lives that may prevent us from really experiencing the joys of reading the Bible and praying. So with that said, guys, does anything immediately come to mind with maybe a distraction? Mina, does anything come to your mind?
Well, when you talk about distractions and or about our prayer lives, rather, the first thing that comes to my mind is the laziness that comes with it, and the desire to not do it, the strong desire just to be lazy and to not do anything. I feel that when I personally don't pray or when I don't feel like praying, it's from the desire. I just want to distract myself with anything else, and that's kind of what your original question was, what distractions come with it. We could distract ourselves with our computers in many different ways.
So you said two things. Sometimes we can be lazy, and then another additional distraction would be the fact that we have the access to the whole world pretty much from our computers. Vivnoti, you have anything to say on what may distract us while we are praying or trying to pray?
Well, sometimes, honestly, sometimes if I attempt to read the Bible, I'll just look at my phone every couple of minutes of it. I just got a new message. That's really a big distraction. Not just in reading the Bible, just overall my spiritual life. But one thing that really gets to me is that I'm not a big fan of reading. I think that really, every time I'm like, oh, Bible, you gotta read it. But Abuna made a good suggestion for me, is to just listen to sermons online. He was like, you still get that juice, that nice spiritual juice from.
Well, that is a great point. I mean, I think sermons are great to listen to, but there's an intimate, and this is written by a lot of our church fathers, an intimate feeling you get when you are personally reading the Bible, word for word, and kind of translating it into your own heart. But Abanu, what do you feel may sometimes distract you from reading something that you know we're supposed to read?
I think that sometimes certain things distract us, like you having the new kind of technology, like as Vivnoti said, phones and computers and all that. We have updated stuff, so every couple of minutes we'd stop reading or focusing on what we're doing, and then we'd go check out what we're doing, see if anything new has just happened. For example, if we have a new message, we just tell you the truth, sometimes I just stop reading the Bible and just reply to that message. And that kind of just makes us lose track, and then as he said, that juice or that intimacy that you get from reading it, you just lose it all in that second or moment.
Oh, really good. Really good. I mean, so when we're praying, does that happen sometimes too?
Yeah, little distractions such as someone talking out of the room or anything, any little noise just makes people when they're closing their eyes, just open their eyes to look around what's happening, just they get distracted so easy if you don't have a strong spiritual life.
Yeah, and speaking about technologies and getting messages, I know that happens to a lot of us when we're praying, that we'll automatically look to our phones in the middle of our prayers. So I mean, it's very clear that we get distracted easily. There's a lot of things out there. But what is it, Michael, that you feel that maybe the root of all of it?
Well, this one comes from inside, actually. I think that thoughts actually distract you a lot because, like, when you're praying, you're supposed to lift up your heart to God, but when the thoughts just come into your head, you start worrying about this or whatever. Like Saint Anthony, when he was in the monastery, the devil would give him thoughts about his sister. Oh, I wonder how my sister is doing, or whatever, so that he would worry about her, and maybe he would leave God and go see how his sister is. So I think like thoughts is a huge struggle when you're praying.
That's a great point. So, what do you feel would be a good way to kind of prevent these thoughts from coming in?
Well, definitely when I pray and thoughts just enter my head, I try to fight them. And when you're praying, especially the Psalms, the words are so beautiful and they have such a deep meaning to them. Like if you just focus on the words, it's so beautiful and you're not gonna want to let go. So you're gonna fight it until you eventually conquer it.
That's a great point. Well, with that said, Michael, do you feel that, well, this is something for the group here, do you feel like you are able to communicate with God a little bit differently when you pray in your mind or when you pray out loud?
I think it's easier to pray out loud because that way sort of there's less distractions because you're focusing on what you're actually saying. If you're saying it inside your head, thoughts, basically it takes thoughts to produce what you're saying, so you might be mixed with other thoughts and you start thinking. Basically what distracts you is wondering. You always wonder like, oh, what am I going to do after this? What am I going to do now? What's going on around me? And what really stops people from praying is procrastination, because you're going to say, oh yeah, I'm going to do this maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, oh now I'm tired, I'll do it tomorrow, and things never happen.
Very good point. Very good point. You, Publi, what do you think about praying in your mind or praying out loud?
I think when you pray out loud, like for me, when I pray out loud, it just like I could just be speaking and I'm thinking about something else. And like, or I hear my parents speaking in the other room and I like zone out and I think about what my parents are saying. But when I play in my mind, it's kind of easier because like I'm like deciding what I think about. I'm not worrying about anything since I'm thinking in my head.
So you feel like for you, it's better for you to pray in your mind than to pray out loud because when you pray out loud, it's easier for you to get distracted?
Yeah.
Kiro?
I kind of agree with what John said. You're kind of really focusing on what you're saying, but if you're thinking in your head and you're praying in your head, I mean, you already have so many things going on in your head and you're thinking about what you're going to do later on or after I'm done praying, or you can even rush your prayer just so you can just be done with it. So, yeah, and also, well, actually, this is a previous experience I had. My parents called me, they called me to go and help them with something, and I was praying out loud, and my mom, she came in, and I heard her open the door, so she heard me praying out loud, and she just left me alone, so that would kind of give me a little bit more peace to pray out loud, so, you know, I'm kind of announcing it, really, so there were other people in my house, so they don't disturb me, so, yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I feel it's more powerful, really.
Very good. Bernard, do you have something to say?
I don't really think it'll make a difference whether you pray out loud or in your mind, because it's all based on how much you really focus in your prayer, how much meaning you're putting into it. Like, you could pray out loud or in your mind. Like, if you want to get distracted, you're going to get distracted. You know what I mean? But if you're really focused on it, like sometimes when like my shoulder hurts sometimes, alright, and it really bothers me, but if I really focus in, like while I'm praying, that pain just goes away. Like, I'm really focusing on the prayer.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Note on this one, because if you're gonna get up and put all the effort, like for me, a lot of times why I don't pray is because it takes too much effort, and by the time you get, like, if I was in the middle, I always think this, if I'm praying now, I'll continue praying from now till tomorrow. That's not the problem. But if you put all the effort into praying, whatever's more comfortable for you, as long as Mike said, your life, your whole mindset is with God, or is on God. So yeah, if you put all the effort in, and if you actually try, you really shouldn't be distracted. You shouldn't. And I learned this actually in school, in psychology class, that you are the controller of your mind. If the devil wants to put in thoughts into your brain, you really can resist him, like, as much. Like for Saint Anthony, in Saint Anthony's case, his sister was his whole life. She was the only thing that really could capture his mind, because she was the closest person to him. She was his sister, but he resisted with God's grace.
Excellent. These are great points, and it's great to hear a variety of different opinions, whether it's praying out loud. A lot of the church fathers also do recommend to pray out loud, just because you're thinking on the moment, and it's not like a lot of other thoughts can come in. But every person is built differently, so for you to pray internally and keep more focused, I think that whatever can bring you more closer to God, then that's awesome, man.